Hello, OLF. Welcome and thanks for joining us. So, I'm Jack. I'm the AlmaLinux community manager, and this is my contact info should you feel it necessary to contact me. I'm sorry that I could not join you in person this time around, but you actually got Benny, who's floating around somewhere at the show. So, make sure you engage with her. She's a lot more fun than I am. So, without further ado, thank you everyone for coming. And what I'd like to talk to you about today is CentOS. So, in the beginning, there was CentOS. And as everyone knows, CentOS is the community enterprise operating system. Uh, it was very popular. This is a chart from way back in July 2010, and we see it there overtaking Debian as the choice of web server on the web. But it was also very, very broken. So here we have a letter, an open letter to Lance Davis on July 2009, and one of the problems was that so Lance was on the team that started the project. I believe he was actually the initial founder of the CentOS effort itself. And what happened was he owned all of the keys to the domains. He owned control of lots of other stuff, and basically he disappeared. So he made it very, very hard for people to do anything, and at a certain point, the whole board had gotten together and basically sent him an open letter saying, "Dude, where are you?" And everything got resolved. But just the fact that something like that was even able to happen was very problematic. And then, because of all that, what that precipitated was that a lot of people ended up leaving the project because this is actually a message from Dag Weers at the end of July 2009. And he's basically coming out and saying, there was a total lack of transparency. There was a lot in the actual mechanics of the project that were broken. And maybe worst of all was that it wasn't owned by a foundation. It was owned by one entity, or it was controlled by one entity, which made it very, very problematic because that entity basically decided, if he wanted to run away and not give anyone else access to the domain, that's what happened. And, I think that DAG's bottom line there, keywords here are trust, delegation, and leadership. All that kind of wasn't possible because of how the project was set up. So after that all got resolved, this happened. So the CentOS folks were doing this for quite a while, and they were really doing the community a tremendous service. And so Red Hat kind of stepped in and decided to sponsor the project by hiring some of the people that work on the project. And everyone thought that, this was a really, really great event because essentially all the stuff that was being done on a volunteer basis was now being done in a way that the people behind it were actually getting paid to do it. And then this happened. So, as everyone probably knows, and for those of you who don't, this is kind of important. So, on December 8th, 2020, which is almost a year ago from now, Red Hat announced that they were changing the way CentOS works. So traditionally, the way CentOS works is, CentOS was a rebuild of Red Hat. So CentOS would take the Red Hat sources and then rebuild them. And then they would issue them, they would make some changes like stripping off the Red Hat branding and stuff like that. and then they would release those to the community. And of course, it was understood that this is an effort by the community and it's supported by the community. So there really isn't any like commercial support available. But nonetheless, many people used CentOS. And here, Red Hat decided to change the way that worked. So basically, what they did was that they moved CentOS from downstream of RHEL to upstream of RHEL. And this got a lot of people angry. And basically, the rallying cry, came out that CentOS is dead. So long live CentOS. And CentOS is actually not dead at all. It's actually better than ever. And that's because of the advent of CentOS Stream. And so CentOS Stream is now it's upstream of RHEL. It is a rolling minor release. So basically what that means is that, so for example, for the upcoming version of RHEL, which is RHEL 9, which has a beta out, so CentOS 9 Stream or CentOS Stream 9, whichever way you want to call it, actually lives upstream of that. And so all those little changes that will make it into the next point release of RHEL are all being released, developed, and tested in CentOS Stream. So now you may ask, well, what happens to those people who relied on a downstream distribution? And that's where we come in. So AlmaLinux is the project that I work on. And I'll pull up this neat little graphic. Hey, so, okay, so the way things work is, this is actually, think of this inverted. So Fedora is actually the super upstream of all this stuff. And then bits of that will end up in CentOS Stream. And then that'll get built into RHEL. And then what we do actually is we take those bits and then rebuild them the same way that CentOS used to do. So this tree is upside down, but it's actually a very, very accurate graphic. And thanks for Carl George for putting this stuff together. He's been tweeting out lots of stuff about, just how CentOS Stream fits into the whole ecosystem now. And the information has been really, really awesome coming from him and the rest of the CentOS team. So what is AlmaLinux? So we're a few things. First of all, we're an open source and forever free enterprise grade Linux distribution. So the same stability that you expected from CentOS is here. We are one-to-one with RHEL. So we're basically doing the exact same thing that they did, taking the sources and rebuilding them. We have a 10-year base lifetime support, and that's really based on the upstream. So RHEL has the 10-year base lifetime support, so that's the same thing that we're doing, which is what CentOS was previously doing, but Stream is actually shifting to a 5-year support cycle. And I hear that RHEL may be doing that as well, so we'll see how that shakes out down the road. I think one of the most important things about us is that we're a 501c6 nonprofit. So what that means is that all of the intellectual property is actually owned by the community. And that means that no one person or no one entity really gets to control everything. We have an open and free membership. And then because of that, everyone can sign up. It's totally free. And you actually get a voice and you get a vote and you get to be heard on, decisions that the project needs to make and how things will happen in the future, which is really, really very important and gets back to the slide earlier where Dag was complaining because that's really something that never existed before. And again, the board is governed and picked by the community. So really get to... The stewardship is basically all in the hands of the membership and the community because they get to vote on it. One other thing is we're also endorsed by Johnny Hughes. So Johnny Hughes is like one of the really, really early CentOS board members. I think he's worked on the project the longest, actively the longest out of everyone to date. And just his vote of confidence really means a lot. And it kind of put a lot of wind in our sails at the beginning, seeing that Johnny came out and gave us a nice congratulations. So we definitely want to thank Johnny for his over a decade and a half of service to the community, and for all the good things he's had to say about us. So a little bit about our project governance. So membership is free and open to all community. It says currently free. It's always going to be free. I don't know why I put that word in there. I think currently open was what I was trying to say. Any community member, contributor, whoever's been active can apply to become a member. And we have a membership committee, which Benny is on. And they basically process the applications, go through and try to make sense of who's who. And once you're in, then you have your vote. It's also open to mirror operators. Of course, software distribution is one of the most important things when it comes to a project of this magnitude. So all of them have a vote as well. And also it allows sponsors to contribute to the project's success. So if any corporate sponsor wishes to, like we have now, they can come in and they can contribute and they can help make the project successful and contribute funds towards making stuff like our appearance at OLF happen. Elections for board members will hopefully happen within the next 2 to 3 months. Don't hold me to that. That's more in Benny's court, but I think that we're definitely on a good strategic track to make that happen. Our board meetings are also open. We publish the agendas, we publish the minutes, and we're also looking into joining stuff like Open Collective. So what Open Collective does is it's basically an entity that revolves around transparency in fundraising for nonprofits. So basically, everyone can see. We already publish all this stuff, like bank statements, so you can see exactly where the money's going. But you can definitely leverage something like Open Collective to have a lot more visibility into what the project is spending money on. And I think that that's a very important thing for a community-driven project, to have everyone know exactly where the money's coming from and what the money's doing and where it's going. So actually, Igor, who's the CEO of Cloud Linux, and he was the one that had the idea to start all this. So it's great to see that he actually stepped down from the board. Some people might equate that with being problematic. This is exactly what we were envisioning would happen. So he was basically there to kickstart everything. And then once everything was in place and all the mechanisms were in place, he basically stepped down to ensure that the project is really independent. So I think that that's a great testament to the work that we've done. And a real thank you goes out to him for, number one, having the vision and the wherewithal to go through this. It's really not easy starting a nonprofit, and it's not easy at all to make the decision that he did, which was pour in a ton of resources into making this happen. And so now that Igor stepped down from the AlmaLinux board, actually we saw Karen Beer step down from the CentOS board. So Karen Beer is also one of the earliest, if you want to call him, contributors to the project. He was really on the initial team. And, I think that he also felt that now that things are starting to evolve a little bit, he just wanted to do other stuff. And I think that's it's great because it's making space for other people from within the community to stand up and fill that board seat. And I also when I gave a talk similar to this at another conference, actually it was like right around the day that this happened, and we really do have to thank Karen Beer, because so much of what's going on now in the enterprise Linux space, and stuff like being able to launch a helicopter on Mars and things like that have really all been powered by efforts like what Karen Beer has done, and he's been doing it for 17 years. Just to be to stick with it, and with many of the personalities that have been around over the last 17 years, is a feat by itself. So, thank you very much, Karen Beer. So, who are some of our sponsors? We have some awesome names. Cloud Linux, which is Igor's company, is committed to $1 million a year by itself. AWS, ARM, Chef, Microsoft Azure has been tremendous in the work that we've done with them. The Oregon State Open Source Labs, Mattermost, Equinix, which is a huge name in the data center space. High Velocity Hosting, cPanel, Plesk, Known Host. I just realized now that they're the logo is white, so sorry for the the color clash there. But it's a lot of different names from a lot of. It's a very diverse cut of the tech industry. So there's some like data center people, some hosting people, OSL, the cloud providers. ARM is designs processors. Chef does DevOps stuff. So it's really all over the place, and it's great to see that we've gotten such broad support. And actually, we're going to be announcing a really large sponsor next week. So stay tuned to our news to hear more about that. That's really, really exciting for us. So what have we been up to the past year? We've actually been really, really busy. We put out 8.3, which was the first release that we had in March. And since then, we've done 8.4, and then 8.5 was out just a few weeks ago, actually 2 days after RHEL, which is amazing because if anyone is familiar with what the CentOS release timelines were, they were significantly longer. And that's really because, the resources needed to make something like this happen, whether that's in human resources or tech resources, is just a lot of work. We've put out migration scripts for all the enterprise Linux 8 distributions. So if you're running any other enterprise Linux derivative, we have a script that will move you over to AlmaLinux, which is good because people that are running CentOS 8 who will no longer be getting security or any other updates at the end of this month have an easy way to move to Alma now. We've also put out a Raspberry Pi image, and I know that Benny has a Raspberry Pi that she's showing off running Alma. So if you get a chance, stop by and take a look at that. We've put out cloud images for all of the major cloud platforms. So AWS, Azure, we're on Google. We've put out OpenStack / Cloud Init images. We're on Linode. I mean, we're on tons of them. I can't even lost count already. UBI equivalent containers. So for those who don't know what UBI is the Red Hat Universal Base Image. And UBI is basically a containerized version of RHEL. And it allows you to basically, write and deploy your applications anywhere that you can run those containers without having to worry about will it work, will it not work. So we actually put out an equivalent container set. So there are like 4 or 5 of them, and then we're working on some application-specific containers too. This stat is a little bit dated, so it's over 200K Docker pulls. We actually have close to 500K Docker pulls at this point, which is, the support from the community has been amazing. We have images for VMware. We have Vagrant boxes. We have LXC, LXD containers. We have images for Proxmox and their containers. It's really become, almost ubiquitous at this point. But again, even just yesterday, someone showed up on our chat and built some images for Parallels, which is something that we didn't have. So community is contributing stuff every day. It's really, really awesome, all the support that we've gotten. We also publish errata. So for those of you who are not familiar with errata, basically you can do stuff like have DNF install security updates only. So other packages will not get touched except for the stuff that has open CVEs against them. You can patch packages by CVE. You can, query and make sure that a package has been patched for a certain CVE. We're really trying to focus on security. So we have stuff like Secure Boot. We have a CIS benchmark. For those of you who don't know what CIS is, it's the Center for Internet Security, and what they do is they publish these guides for system hardening, basically. And that can be done, you can read it and do it yourself, or there's tools like OpenSCAP, which let you basically load up the profile, and then you can have it run against the system. So it's like automated system hardening, which is awesome. So we have that. We're working on stuff like Oval. We're working on FIPS certification, which is it's very involved and takes a long time, but it is in the process. So I don't know if anyone here does any stuff with FIPS or is in the federal space or any other secure industry that requires you run in FIPS. We will have that eventually as soon as all the red tape around it gets worked out. And then in terms of the community, so we're trying to do a few things. We don't want to be a community onto our own. We're really trying to build bridges between the various parts of the community. So obviously there's the Fedora community, there's the broader CentOS community, there's the communities of the other rebuilds, and just really open source in general. We're trying to be a good citizen. We continue to work with Red Hat. I know that a lot of people got very, very mad at Red Hat, but Red Hat, at least to us, are not the enemy. I think it's very critical to have a good working relationship with them. And that's something that we focus on doing and making sure of every single day. We've also already contributed to CentOS Stream in a couple of different ways. And again, I think that that's going to be the process for the EL community moving forward, is really being able to isolate stuff and figure stuff out and send it up to CentOS Stream so that it gets fixed in future versions, and then that all trickles down to us. One of the things that we're advocating for is RHEL build routes for the CentOS special interest groups. So the special interest groups really revolve around their own sort of niche of the community, and they put out their own packages. Now the problem with that is that now that CentOS 8 is going away, and those packages are built against CentOS 8, there's no real easy way to have them continue building upstream and have those be supported for the downstream distributions. So one of the things that we've done, and actually this was recently resolved quite positively, is that I opened a ticket and basically asked for the infrastructure team to include RHEL build routes. So what that is that it'll let the SIGs build their packages against RHEL, which of course is then consumable by everyone downstream, and that's great. And that's something that has taken place, which is amazing. Really, really glad that happened, because what that allows us to do is what we do now is we enable those SIGs from within our distribution. So traditionally, you'd have to go out and grab the SIG's release package and then unpack it, and then that's how you'd enable the SIG's repos within your distribution. But now that we actually include those as well, you could just basically DNF install their release package, and then just install the subsequent packages or whatever they put out straight from within the distribution, which is it sounds like a small thing, but it's really not, because otherwise we would have had to rebuild all their stuff. And I know that there were some of the other rebuilds that were talking about that in the beginning, but what we wanted to do and what we felt like we could do is help engage more people around the SIGs. And so we went ahead and enabled that, and hopefully as people use them and consume them and come back to us with stuff, we can point them upstream, and we can certainly help them become upstream contributors. And that's part of being a good citizen of the ecosystem. Another thing is Apple contributions and fixes. So Apple is the extra packages for Enterprise Linux, which is where a ton of the software that people install on top of the base distributions come from. So that's a big one. Like I mentioned before, application and language specific containers, where we've already started working on some of those. So Java specific containers, Python specific containers, some of the other languages, those are coming down the pipe, and we hope to see a lot of activity around that in the coming year. Custom image builder and purpose specific images. So basically we want to support things like doing remixes and respins, because that's a very valuable thing for many people in the community, to be able to create their own, basically put in their own custom packages and rebundle the distribution. Also, our open build system with verifiable, reproducible builds and code notary integration to ensure supply chain security. So this is actually very, very important, because there have been lots of supply chain attacks in the last year. I'm sure people have heard of SolarWinds, but that was just really the biggest one. And there are a lot more of them, actually a lot more than you would imagine. And it's really a little bit problematic. So one of the things that we want to do for our new build system, which is in the stages of being open, and we hope that that'll be done also by the end of the year, is that we'll be able to have reproducible, verifiable builds. So that basically anything that's done, you'll be able to point to it and say, yes, this is verified. Here are the steps to reproduce. This is what needs to be done. And also, Code Notary is a very cool company that does like DevSecOps stuff. And one of the things that they do is, so they have this immutable database, and what they allow you to do is actually create, you can notarize your package, your ISO, your distribution, your container. So what it'll do is it'll actually scan your product, and it'll build a software bill of materials of what's actually included in that. And that's great, because what you can do is if there ever happens to be a certain vulnerability or a known bad package, you could basically flag that, and then you can invalidate all of that stuff like in your build pipeline or in your deployment pipeline. So, if someone slips like a bad package into the stream somewhere, you can essentially blacklist that package, and you can invalidate it for all your coming builds, and revoke the ones that are out there already, so that if anyone tries to do like a verification, they'll say like, hey, there's something wrong with this. I should look and check and see if there's a new image. So we've also done one more thing. And I kind of like to think of it as the Holy Grail. And it's something that has been asked for in the community for a very long time, but was never available. So what if people had a way to migrate between major versions of rel derivative distributions? So let's say I'm running, CentOS 7. and I want to go to 8. The traditional way to do this would be to reinstall, move your data, make a backup, reinstall and pray, and make sure that everything, landed in the right place. So we tried to get around this, and the way that we came up with it is Red Hat has limited support for doing this. They actually released something called the Leap framework a while ago, and the Leap tools themselves are open, but they require metadata that is not open. So what we did is we announced our Project Elevate. So if you go to almalinux.org/elevate, this is our project to enable major version migrations. And we've had literally thousands of servers that have undergone this already. And, bugs have been uncovered, pull requests. It's really, the uptake has been like beyond awesome. So what we did was we're working with Red Hat's Leap maintainers, and we created a version that supports, so the original Leap only supports RHEL. So what we did is we went and we patched it to support everything. So that's RHEL, Oracle, us, Rocky Linux, a bunch of the others. And what you can now do is basically you can come in and you can download the Leap tools. And then the other thing that we've done is we've created this package evolution service. So like I said, there's the tools and the metadata. So the tools themselves are open, and we patch those. But the problem is the way that the tool works is that so packages evolve between distributions, right? A package could have been updated. It could have been downgraded for a certain reason. If let's say there was a regression that they found, it can be split, and a few other different primitives. And so this metadata basically tells the Leap tools, hey, this is how to transform this package from like 7 to 8, right? And then what that lets us do is we can basically define the upgrade path. So the problem is that data was never available publicly. Under a non-free, it was available under a Red Hat non-free license. So basically, you needed a subscription to get at that. And what we were able to do is we worked with Oracle, and really a shout out to the great team there, David, Avi, Bo, Tim. They were all phenomenal. They put together an Apache licensed metadata library. And so what we did was that we took that, we merged that with the stuff that we were working on, and we put together this package evolution service. So the package evolution service lets you do a few things. First of all, it lets you download the data that you need for your upgrade. So you can come in and tell it, I'm going from CentOS 7 to CentOS Stream 8. And it'll give you the package set that you need. You can come in and tell it, I'm going from CentOS 7 to AlmaLinux 8, and it'll give you the package set that you need. And we also did this for other distributions as well, so this is not limited to us. This is open to everyone in the EL ecosystem, because we want to make sure that the community has choice, and we realize that, hey, not everyone's going to use Alma, so we wanted to make a tool that was useful for the whole community, and hopefully some of the other rebuilders will join us as well. And then what the package evolution service lets you do too is it lets you contribute data to the metadata set. So if you're a maintainer and you have a package that you're maintaining and you want to make sure that upgrades go super smooth, if you're a software vendor and you want to make sure that your updates go super smooth, you can come in and you can contribute that metadata back to the library, and now it's available for everyone. So the only thing that we're missing now is for you to join us. Really, there's so much to do. No matter what you do, we can use your help, whether that's DevOps, cloud, HPC, security, containers, docs. I don't know if I mentioned docs, but really everyone and anyone, whatever your talents are, artwork, marketing, whatever. We would love to have you. Some resources are our website, of course, and our wiki, which there's a lot of stuff on there. Also, the meeting spot, the watering hole for the community has become this Mattermost server, which is chat.almalinux.org. And that's also bridged to pound AlmaLinux on Libera. So if anyone would like to join us on there, that's really, I think, the best place to get started, because you can kind of hop in there and start talking to people and introduce yourself and all that. So the sources for the distribution are actually on git.almalinux.org, but everything else is on GitHub. So sources, kickstarts, the scripts for our cloud images, for our containers, that's all on GitHub. And then, of course, Elevate is on almalinux.org/elevate. And I urge you all to join our community and become members. I think if anyone is already in the EL ecosystem, and if any of this matters to you, I think that you're finally getting a chance to have a voice, and you should exercise it the same way that we vote for president and that we vote for our members of Congress. It's really a very important step, and I think it's going to go a long way to ensuring the longevity of the project, to ensuring the strength of the project, and to making sure that the project is doing things that people want. So putting out the distribution is actually pretty easy for us. It's really, beyond that, what we do and what do we want to do and what does the community want us to do. And I think that this is, the greatest thing about the project is that everyone can come in and can actually vote and say, hey, I have an idea. Let's bring it to a vote and let everyone vote. We also, I forgot to mention on here, we have mailing lists now. So just lists.almalinux.org if you like, a good old-fashioned mailing list. And of course, as always, thank you. That the Catch Us in Booth 5 and 6 is a remnant from a previous talk that I did. So we're not there, but we are here. Everyone, stop by the AlmaLinux booth. Stop by the CentOS booth. This is my contact information. And we're on Twitter. We're on Reddit. We're all over the place. I'm sure you can find us. And thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or any of our channels on social. Or you can ask Benny. You can find her. And expect to have a good time when you do. So thank you, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the weekend. And thanks.